Hey guys, it's Eric Weingarten with Weingarten Racing. It's an update video today. Should have been done on Saturday, but I just haven't had time. So here it is Saturday night as I'm recording this. So yeah, I'm wearing a hat because my hair is kind of messed up too. And I know somebody like, it won't matter because you won't be able to stop staring at it. I know this because I see people with hair sticks up and I still stare at that instead of what they're saying. But anyway, there's a lot of stuff in this video because a lot happened. And I do mean a lot this week. So I can't wait to talk about it and show you some of the stuff I got going on. So let's get started. First off, this week I did dyno the small block Ford 408 cubic inch dyno mule. So that video will be out probably not this week, but then the next week, at least one of them. So a lot of things were tested. 2 different cams, the Trick Flow cam and the PAL cam was tested. Also 3 intakes, the Edelbrock Super Victor, someone else imported, the Jegs intake, the single plane, and the YN Stealth. Also, I tested that Stealth with both a 4150 carburetor and a Dominator. If you're like, I don't want to wait, I'd like to see those results now, is there any way I could get those? Yeah. In this video, in the description for this video, there'll be a link, and you could actually purchase 20 bucks, and it's get you the dyno results from the 408 mule that's already there. And so that's already there. So you could just pay the 20 bucks and you get it. If you're a channel member, which I highly encourage you to do, that's way more expensive though. It's 150 bucks. But you guys got texted the stuff that was going on, but not all of it because I just got so busy because I had to get a lot of stuff done in one day. If you're a channel member, check your channel member link. All those dyno results are already there. So just click on that link that's already got sent to you and there it's there. If you're like, wait, I'm a channel member, but I haven't got it, you might have expired. And if you have, email me and I'll help you out with that. But all those results are there. Regardless, all will be shared in probably 2 weeks anyway, whenever I make the video. Monday or Tuesday's video is going to be the porting one on the big block Chevy heads. So anyway, that happened this week. And also because of that, that couldn't even have taken place if it hadn't been for a guy named Greg. And he owns Buffalo Head Motorsports here. He painted both the Camaro and the S10. He's a Ford guy, and by chance he had the magnetic trigger wheel. For whatever reason, I just don't have it. Bill Brennick is the guy that actually supplied this short block for this 408. And I put the heads and got a different cam from PAL and stuff. But without those two guys, there'd have been no dyno testing on the Ford. Speaking of which, too, I am out of stuff to test on that Ford because I tested every single thing I have. So if there's something you would like to see tested, you can send it in, and if I can make it happen, I will. So preferably, I would have liked to have tested as many intakes as the small block Chevy has been tested. But that's all I had. So anyway, but let's go on to other stuff. This is probably the next big thing. So I finally have an inventory of heads, and this stuff will be on my online store and available to be sold because I have the parts to put them together and everything else. This is like an Easter sale that's going on. Probably the biggest one that you're most concerned with or most interested in is and I'm going to pull them out and I'll show you, but there's a set of small block Chevy 210cc CNC ported heads. I've got 6 sets. One I did a valve job on. I'm going to show you the flow difference. I've got one set of 220s, which I'm also going to show you. They're CNC ported. I have the set of as-cast 185 small block Ford heads for the hydraulic roller assembled 1650. 205, same price, 1650. This is probably the different one. This is a set of LS3 CNC heads. I'll pull these out and show you 2. They're $2,100. I've only got one of those. A set of 290s big block Chevy heads. A set of 360 big block Chevy heads, and I've got another set of 290s and 2 sets of 315s. A set of 340 CNC heads. Those are assembled for a solid roller, $3,000 for the pair. I'll show you that in this video too. And then also, these are my CNC heads these are my design. Brodix Dragon Slayers. I've got one set left. That's actually one spoken for a customer. Although I got several more coming in, but I got a one set that's going to be available. So I just got to touch those up. And also, these are the heads for the small block Ford Cam Challenge. Straub finished CNC porting those. You can order those heads either through me or through Straub. These are the Trick Flow 240cc high port heads, although they're 255 cc's after they have my port design in them. But anyway, the point being is now I actually have inventory of heads that I could sell at any time. And I'm getting more in of the Dragon Slayer stuff, my own CNC design stuff. I'm trying to do using some of these to put in the CNC machine and put my 235cc head design in there. But anyway, Let me go ahead and start off by showing you the 210cc head and its features and price. Here are the 210cc heads. As you can tell, they're full CNC ported. And they're coming two ways. One, exactly how they come here, which is with a 208 intake valve, 1/600 exhaust valve. These are the valve that's used. I don't use some cheap piece of crap. These are 8mm valves. These are made the same place where AFR has their valves made. They've got a back cut on them and they're pretty nice, 8mm, so they weigh less, just like what AFR uses. This is the exhaust valve, tulip design, nice stuff, 8mm. And they have 208 1/600s. They're only available, I only have them in an angle plug. And there are no steam holes, and no, I would not drill them. I've done it before and broke a bit off in the middle of the head, and I'm never doing that again. So this is how they are, and they have about a 65cc chamber, no larger chambers. You can get them, so as they are listed on my online store, I have them listed as a hydraulic roller setup, but if you want a solid roller, I can do that. You just need to email me, and we can adjust the spring package to fit. But this is how they come. The valve job comes from wherever they have them done versus mine. Now this is a $300 option. And this is just me redoing the intake and exhaust valve job. More curious to see what it would actually do as far as flow wise. I also then blend it in as well, as what you could tell. But same valve size, nothing really changes. As far as flow numbers, it slightly does, and let me show you that. This is the difference in the flow numbers between the stock and then my redoing the valve job and blending it. So this is stock. And if you look at it, the really big outlier comes at 600 on the intake. It goes from 290 to 310. The rest of the points, they're pretty much the same. It gains a little bit, but not a ton. The exhaust side, however, it gains quite a bit more. That's a much bigger difference on the exhaust side than it is on the intake side. But it's up to you whether it's worth it. Now, I assemble all the heads, so either me or someone that works for me, and currently there's no one else working for me, so it looks like I'll be putting all these heads together. So whether you got them stock or with me redoing the valve job, I'm assembling them. So what I'm trying to say is, since I assemble them, they get vacuum tested after I assemble every set of heads I ever do. If I don't assemble the heads, they don't always get to unless the customer pays for me to do that. But on the ones I assemble, I do. So whether you get them stock or with me redoing the valve job, they will pass vacuum test. Now, if they don't, on the stock ones, I'll probably hit it with the stone, but I won't redo the valve job like this. I'll still get them to seal though. But there's the two options. Let me show you the 220 now. And don't forget, these heads, stock 1650 assembled with a hydraulic roller, and the hydraulic roller spring is this one. It's a pack spring. It's a nice spring, small diameter, good stuff, perfect for hydraulic roller stuff. Again, if you want a solid roller setup on this, I can do it. It will cost you more, but just email me and we'll set that up. So anyway, now let me show you the 220 numbers. This is the 220 head that I'm selling. I've only got one to sell, and I don't think I can get any more of them anyway other than this one. This one's gonna have to be surfaced, because I didn't do this, but whoever tried blending the valve job got a little carried away with the grinder and it skipped away from them. But anyway, this particular set, it's more expensive than the rest. So this one's $2,100, which sounds like a lot. And you're like, well, that's close to AFR prices. Let me tell you, AFR is gonna have a 5% price increase on everything except for the Gen 3 Hemi heads April 1st. So if you hadn't heard already, their prices are going up. As a matter of fact, some of their websites probably that sell this stuff like Summit may have already raised that price to reflect that. But these will be $2,100, and the reason why they're more expensive than this one is because this one is set up for solid roller. So I only have the solid roller set up for it, and the valves that are used on this are the exact AFR valves. So if you got an AFR 220, those valves are in this head. It's got that same spring that the same AFR springs too that are used, the 700. So it's exact parts that were used in an AFR head, except this is an AFR head. Again, I don't know who made this design on the port. It wasn't me, but I don't mind selling it. It's not bad. Now, how much is the difference in flow does this one flow compared to the other, the 210 with my valve job being redone? Well, let me just show you the flow numbers for the 220. This is the flow numbers for the 220. Now, this one, by the way, was flowed on a 430 bore. I wasn't trying to skew the numbers. It just happened to be the bore that whenever I first floated it, what it was on. So it'll probably bring up, if you float this on a 4155 bore, and if you buy it, don't forget every single set of heads that you get from me gets a flow sheet with it, an actual from the head you bought. So if you wanted me to flow it on a 4155, just tell me whenever you buy it and I'll flow it again. But on a 4030 bore, it flows 311 at 600. It's not quite as good at the 400 lift because of the bore size that was used. So if you compare that to like this one, you could tell I'm way up at the 210's higher at 247, 249, but it's on a bigger bore. The peak with the valve job's 310, which is the same as this one, which is a larger port. But anyway, if you want me to put my valve job on it, I could do that too, and we're gonna see what it does. I don't think that it's gonna pick up anything at all, but it may. Anyway, if you're interested, I'll be happy to do that, or I'll sell it just the way it is. Again, that's $2,100. Let me show you the LS3 one. This is the LS3 CNC one. Again, I didn't design this one either. I actually sent this guy one of my programs for him to make, and I don't know if he ever came across it, because this one, it flows about the same as the ProMax large bore LS3 head, which I've dynoed with a bunch. Matter of fact, I bet you this makes within a few horsepowers of the one I did dyno, even though it looks pretty. So that's the thing about CNC port. It looks great. May not make any more power than an as cast one. So I know I'm saying that as I'm selling it, but I'm being truthful with this because it flows so close to the as cast one. So that ProMax LS3 large bore, it's about the same as this. So, but anyway, point being is this head is for sale. I've only got one pair here, and I'm not redoing the valve job on these because I don't like cutting this valve material because it's so hard to machine, for at least on my machine, period. And I think it's tough. So if it doesn't seal, I just hit it with a stone. But if you do want me to blend that out, it'll probably help flow a little bit. They flow about 365, by the way. But yeah, I did send this guy a different one. He paid me to redo it, and I sent like 3 different ports, but I haven't ever seen if it turned out, because I really wanted to dyno those to see if they were better than these, and I would know, because I told him I'd get on mine on my own dime, trying different ports to see if it makes any more power than this, and if it didn't, and I sent him 2 different ports, like I said, to see if it made any difference, and we could keep going back and forth till we got something that was perfect, and then it just kind of died. So I don't know. I mean, I'm serious. I didn't mind. So if you're listening to this, Steven, I don't mind doing other ports for you if that doesn't work, but I really want to dyno it to make sure it's not just better on the flow bench, that it actually makes more power in general. But anyway, that's this head. I've only got one pair, and it's $2,100 assembled and hydraulic roller setup. This is another head that's on the Easter sale, and I've only got one pair left. So these are a set of big block heads, and these are from China, and they were CNC'd in China. But these are a 340cc runner, and I did redo the valve job, so just to make sure that they would seal. So they're a 45-degree valve job, and that was done by me. And these heads, as you can tell, they're full CNC ported, chambers, exhaust ports, intake ports, and they're a really nice head. The casting I totally trust. So there's a lot of Chinese heads I don't trust. I do trust the castings for this, the reason why I'm selling them. These heads assembled, and they come with, and these are actual AFR valves. So these, if you bought AFR heads, which I don't know if my thing will capture it, but these are actual AFR valves. So ordered from AFR. This is 2300, and that's what these heads have. 2300 intake valve, and this is also the AFR valve that it comes with. And as far as valve springs, if you do a solid roller, these are a Manley Nex-Tech and a Manley titanium retainer. There are no Chinese ones on here. This setup, the pair, and I've only got one pair left, is $3,000 assembled. So with those points, if you're like, well, I'd rather do a hydraulic roller, you can email me and we can discuss that. It won't be any cheaper, I'll tell you, because of the weight on these valves. You got to have a pretty tough spring for a hydraulic roller. But I can do that. I've got one set left. I was almost thinking about using these on my 477 big block with the Root Supercharger, because I had some damage with the AFR 305 heads that I'd ported. They're going to be fixed, obviously, and I'm going to resell those. But I thought, well, this will just save me time. But I think I'm just going to sell this set. So $3,000 assembled with AFR spring or valves, pack, or not pack, but Manley Nex-Tech springs, Manley titanium retainers. $3,000, valve job by me, assembled by me. It's a hell of a deal. Only one set left. Here's what they flow, by the way. So the long runner is right here. This is on a 4625 bore. It goes 390 at 700, and the short runner goes peak at 388. But you can pause and look at it. The exhaust flow is pretty good too, so not bad. And these is flowing with the AFR valves, so really good, especially in the low lifts. Really good. So anyway, that's the head floaters for it. Okay, now to small block Ford Cam Challenge info. So these are the heads going to be used for the small block Ford Cam Challenge. These are the Trick Flow high port 240cc heads, but what I've done is I've ported them. And then this is actually the port I had ported. This chamber, This would be this intake, this chamber, and this exhaust. You can tell what I did and didn't do. But the reason for it isn't because 240 suck, it's because it needed to be something different so someone doesn't get an unfair advantage. It did give me a chance now to offer these. So what happened is after I got importing this, time was definitely not on my side, so I sent these off to Chris Straub. Now he has a Rottler CNC machine and he was able to digitize and port these. And then they came back. So I'm gonna share some of the deals with that, frustrations I guess I could say, with that and how it works. So happy that Chris Straub did it, and I think he did it the best of his abilities. I don't know that the Rottler can understand some of the things, and let me try to explain. And I know I'm going to seem like I'm a little off in the weeds here, but bear with me. I'm going to show you my CNC Dragon Slayer here in a second. It's done on a Centroid. Now, I don't own either one of them. I would love to own a CNC machine so I wouldn't have to keep outsourcing it and paying out the rear. But in my experience, the ones that come off of Centroid seem better than Rottler. And not because Rottler or Centroid's paying me. I ain't got either one. Chris has a Rottler. There's nothing wrong with the Rottler except for I don't understand some of its functions. And this head is a perfect example. So this is the model port. Okay, so this is what it was. Now, several times when I send off one to get digitized, they'll digitize this and then they'll run a tracer program over the model itself just to see if does anything weird whenever they're actually cutting the actual program. Chris didn't do that, which is fine because it gives me a chance to see what was removed and what wasn't removed. So if you look at this chamber that you see here, that CNC part, that's actually from when it came from TrickFlow. Looking at that, we could tell what I have and have not removed. So you could tell I've only done here. That's all I had done was in this area here to unshroud it from whenever I put the bigger valve in. The rest of this is all TrickFlow around the spark plug. It's all TrickFlow. So then we go to this is how it came off back from Chris. It's not the same. It's clearly not the same. So let me explain. If it was cutting exactly the same, the only spots that should be removed, as you could tell from what I've removed, should be right here. That's it. The shiny part's actually what Chris Straub's machine removed. And it's not there. This dark here, that's original TrickFlow. And if you look, that's here, where I did remove. So this is the part that TrickFlow had. I'd already removed material from here. The Straub, which is the shinier part, or the Rottler, didn't touch it. This side, I didn't touch at all. You could tell that's the original, and this is all the Rottler touched. It doesn't make any sense. The other thing is, if you look at the transition between the spark plug, how smooth it is from this way, nope, not according to the Rottler. That needs to be rough that way. It makes no sense. And this is probably the more frustrating one from my standpoint and the reason why I float it. And Chris, don't take I'm knocking you. I really think it's something in the Rottler software because you're not the first one to have this. I said Dragon Slayers digitized on a Rottler as well and did the same thing. This right here. So what we have here is it comes off the top cut. Let me get it to zoom in better. There we go. You can tell I come off the top cut and it's a smooth transition. What it has not done is dug out. See that dug out there? That's from the machine digging that out. Now, if this didn't have a valve job and is that way, I'd be fine. But this was valve jobbed and left in there. So I would expect it not to be dug out. It's actually deeper than what the model is. So a little just different. So one of the first things I did though, after seeing this, I was like, you know, I flowed this, sent all that data to guys. So let me just pull it up. And since this was already valve job, because I valve jobbed this whole head because I thought initially what I was going to do was I was just going to port this head myself. But then to save time, Chris Straub was nice enough. And please don't take me as knocking it. The another thing is, look at this. If you think that's something else that can't be copied, look at my vein. How it comes to a nicer point. Is it that? No. So the problem with the CNC machine, it don't always copy exactly. But going on, so I'd already valve jobbed just this one head. So whenever it got cut, the valve job is already there. So the valve job is already present when he cut, which is good and bad because if he shrunk the program up, thankfully, around the valve job so that it wouldn't hit the valve job, great. So what I did was I floated stock, just like this, exactly how it came, which is doesn't look bad. So here are our numbers, which hopefully I'm gonna stand up for this. This is what a model was. This cylinder right here is number 1. This is exactly how it comes off the machine. This is where things get a little interesting. If you look at the 400 number, we'll just go start from the beginning. About the same at 100 lift. It's 4 CFM better at 200. It's, about 4 CFM better at 300. 12 CFM better at 400. 500, it's down 4. 600, it's down 1. 700, it's up 1. 800, it's down 3. 900, it's down 10. And at 100 valve lift, or 1 inch of valve lift, it's down, looks like 14. Quite a change. The reason why it looks so much better down low, which, yay, right, is the dip. When you unshroud it here, the air gets out better at the lower lifts. Hurts peak, because we'll try ramping that. It'll just ramp off of it. We want the top cut to just make it continuous transition into it, like the model. Top cut, continuous out. Just whatever degree I have on there, which I don't want to share with you guys, straight out. Not that, and then another dip in, then back out. It's not how it should be. It does really do help the numbers at the 400. However, this is the exhaust. Because he didn't, and this is not him, this is just to let you know, if someone pulls off a machine, like what you just saw on those 210s that I'm selling, if you just pull off the machine, do a valve job, and you don't do any blending, you'll have sharp edges here, and the exhaust is the clear giveaway. So if you were to sell this just as it is and just do the valve job and no blending, check out what it did to the exhaust, because the intake's one thing, the exhaust got murdered. 300, 161 to 153, lost a bunch. 400, 197 to 189, lost a bunch. 500, 223 to 208. It peaked at 232, was doing 250 before. This is not the CNC porting part of it. So that part's perfect. What happened was it wasn't blended on this because he left it short on at the throat area. So I could do blending and it makes it come in better. So much better way to be, for sure. Because all you have to do is when you blend it, which I've done, you get the third column. And this is where things get even more interesting. It's still down from the model at 200. It's down at 300. It's almost the same at 4. It's up at 5. It's up at 6. It's up at 7. It's up by 2 at 8. It's the same at 9. And at 1, it's almost the same. So the CNC program matched the exhaust almost identically once you blend that. So that's perfect because the chamber, its section, really isn't that much altered. That dip here helps the low lift flow. Here's the thing. Those numbers are so close anyway, it doesn't seem like a difference except for at 4. Chances are this thing will make probably more power after it's been done this way anyway. It would be interesting, but I don't have multiple sets of heads to test, would be to test as it comes, no blending, and then putting it on with the blend because it gains so much CFM, would it make a difference? And I also at some point would like to test that dip area because, man, that sure gained a lot at 400 valve lift for sure, which should be a win-win completely. But I want to know on the dyno, not just a flow bench. However, in general, it's going to make the same amount of power. I don't think for the cam challenge, this shouldn't change you at all. Because not to mention, even if they all flowed the same, they won't when the intake's on. Let me tell you that right now. It just won't happen. So, Chris Straub, thank you so much for doing the CNC porting. And here's the thing too. Chris and I worked out a deal, and both of us will sell this head. I don't know what the retail on the head's going to cost because I don't know what the castings cost. So in this case, particular one, we had them already CNC ported from TrickFlow. We won't order it that way anymore because then you obviously get the little transitions where it's half Chris CNC port work and then half TrickFlows. There's no need for it. We'll just order the castings unported and we'll port them ourselves. Or Chris will. I will, of course, do the valve job. I'll probably share the profiles with him as well. They'll be available from him and from me. And it works out great. And finally, this is probably one of the first times ever that I've done a CNC program for someone else will actually get royalties. How about that? So I'm thrilled about it. I'm just saying, in my confusion, I I think the Centroid does a better job. And since I told you I'd show my Dragon Slayers to show the transition on the chambers on it, just to show you. Not because Chris dropped it or anything different. I think the Rottler's algorithm or analytics that it does for that is different. And I don't know if it's better. Let me show you. This is my CNC Dragon Slayer. Now, it doesn't have a valve job. This is actually how it comes back to me after I get it back. So the guy that cuts this, I don't want to reveal his name because I don't want him to be bombarded, but not cheap, but he does a good job, that's for sure. And anyway, he cuts it on a Centroid. I think it's an A560 or 580 XL, one of the bigger ones. But if you look at this, it doesn't even have a valve job when it comes. So when I send it to him, the seats are installed, but that's it. And he cuts around the seats. It saves me time also cutting valve jobs. But if you look, there's no dip. And see, the valve job is even in. So when the valve job comes in, it comes in perfect. So let me just show you one that's already cut. But this is how it starts. See what I mean? Now let me show you one after it's been valve jobbed and you'll get a better picture of what I'm talking about. Here's the one with the valve job already in. And you could tell it just comes in. You get the top cut coming in and it's perfect. There's no dip that's left there. I'm not doing any blending. That's just how it is. Now, just to prove my point, remember, this is cut on the Centroid. If you look at it, this is the model. So this is how it first came. So this is me ported in. You're like, well, the guides aren't in. Yeah, they got knocked out so they could do some of the port work and stuff. But if you look at it, this was all hand done. And then he ran a tracer program through it first. So it just cuts out, it just cutting where the program would be. And you could tell the program has some little analytic things where it's also thinking you've got more curves or smooths out a line or something of that sort. And you get little spots like this and this. Not bad. It even does it inside the ports. So as you could tell in there, there's spots where it hit because I wasn't perfectly around there in the model. You were able, when you do that, you could digitize exactly. You could also have you straighten some lines and fix some of the curves. And you could tell that's how it is. But the vast majority barely gets touched at all, which I mean, it's just barely hitting it. So it leaves it like it is. So it's not, it's just different. To me, it's the way that it functions, at least on the Centroid. Maybe it's the operator, I don't know. But you can even see where the machine was trying to hit from the sanding rolls. It's just barely touching it. And it ends up like this when it's all on a brand new head. No dips. So, I don't know. I don't understand, but I mean, talk about difficult. Remember, he went around the head bolt hole too. Very difficult. Anyway, these are my Dragon Slayers. I'd love to sell you a set, but yeah, anyway, they are expensive because the guy that does it charges me a good amount to do these, but good work. Anyway, let me go on to the other Ford stuff. Weird coincidence, these are the last set of high ports I ported. These were for a customer of ZSR's. Anyway, I had done these for him. These are a 210 valve and a 1/600 exhaust valve. And this is how it looks when it came back. So he's ran it for a while. And actually, this was on a 440 cubic inch small block Ford Windsor deal. And it made 770. Now, I ported these. And I did something, I wish they'd come back like 2 weeks before. Because I couldn't remember exactly what I did on the short side. But its shape is different than the one we just got done. It's similar, but not quite the same. So I could see this. But it looks close. Very close to what that CNC one is. This one doesn't flow quite as well, but at least I have data from it. And anyway, but all done by hand, nonetheless. Just a funny thing. Here are the cams that have showed up for the small block Ford Cam Challenge. John Vitone, your cam's here. P&M Performance, your cam's here. Gerald Brand, your cam's here. By the way, buddy, Gerald Brand, you gotta look him up. He's a great guy. Way to go on the Patient's Bill of Rights. He's in Oklahoma, by the way. He's around Edmond. That's been his thing, is trying to get this Patient's Bill of Rights. You should really look up his name and type Patient's Bill of Rights. You have a better idea what I'm talking about. It passed the Oklahoma House. It's now at the Senate. Good luck, buddy. I hope it gets to the governor. I hope works out for you. And then Keith Park, your cam's here, and Jacob Gibson. So if you're looking at what brands these are Powell. I don't know about brands. Comp, and that's a Howard's. But that's whose cam's here so far. So if you haven't got one in, you probably should. Remember, the deadline to send in your cam is May 1st. This is for the small block Chevy Cam Challenge. Now, that one will be happening after the Ford and maybe closer. So it looks like if everything works out, I've got a tracking number. Looks like the rotating assembly is going to be in next week. And then I'm going to send it on to Kuntz because they're the one going to be building the engine. They've already got the Summit block there. I am going to mock up the heads and with the intake manifold and put those together. But these came in, and this is neat. And I wish I had these for the Ford. So let me show you what I'm talking about. These are lifters. These are solid roller lifters. And they say by Morel, and I was sharing this with Daniel Powell, and he's like, there's no way those are Morel. They're probably knockoffs. I don't know. I got them from Herbert Racing Cams, and they only cost $400. But you're like, what makes them so awesome, or why do you like them so much? Here's why. These are horizontal tie bars. You see that spring in there? They compress when you put it in, and that's what holds it from turning. But here's the thing. Once you put the load off of it, the spring pops the lifter up, just like an LS's does. So, in other words, you put it in your lifter bore, and if you press it down all the way, like when you adjust the valves, it's all the way down like this. You back off the push rods, it pops up, and it's out of the way so you can slide the cam out without taking off the manifold. Because on the small block Chevy Cam Challenge, it will be fuel injected, and it's going to have the new Holley high ram on it, and it's going to have all the fuel injection stuff. So it'd take forever to take off the manifold with all the stuff on it. So having these in, lifesaver. So I'm super pumped about that. Still working out some more of the rule details on things I might change with that small block Chevy Cam Challenge. But these are neat. Not too bad. If you know anything about these, I mean, these look brand new. I don't doubt these. If they're actually really made by Morel, I'm curious. But I don't know. I'm going to run them anyway. So I probably will take them out after the Cam Challenge is over just to put in some ones, because I'm probably going to end up putting that engine maybe into the S10 and try some drag and drive stuff with it. But anywho, super cool. Very happy about that. Glad that came in. What are these ugly heads, you ask? Well, if you remember, I also have a 540 cubic inch big block Chevy that I use for a dyno mule. And it used to have a set of AFR 385 big block Chevy heads on it, full CNC ported. But before it had those, it had these on here. These are a set of ProMax 317 heads. I had used these heads on the 496 that Dominic and I had used for dyno testing. And one of the things that I had done with this head was I had milled the chambers down to 110 cc's. So flat milled 60 off. And that's why it looks like this. The chambers are much smaller. And then once we got done doing the 496, I put them on the 540 and with these heads unported. Completely stock besides the milling, obviously. And I had to change the valve job to a 50 degree. Anyway, I had 200-300 valves at that time. And it made 921. Which was outstanding. We put the AFR 385s on it. It lost compression because the chamber was much bigger. So the AFR 385s are 119 cc chambers. These were 110. And it lost a point of compression and still made 921. When we switched to a bigger carburetor, it made 941, which is currently the best that 540's made. However, these are going back on. So I've since cut them out to a 2350 intake valve, kept the same 188 exhaust. Still need a little more chamber. Talk about that lip again. There it is. That's on me though. I didn't blend that valve job out enough. I was in a hurry. I've been up. This was 3 o'clock in the morning. Part of me was like, I wonder how long I can work on the shop before my wife comes out to check on me. And before you think your shop's at your home, it's a detached shop from the house. But I'm always curious, like, if I was to get the car dropped on me, how long would I have to be out here before she spotted my body? She came out at 2:30 in the morning. I was up till 3 working on this. Anyway, these end up flowing 420. Now the AFR 385s on my bench flowed 433. So these are down from that, but here's the thing. The reason why they're down, like these should be flowing 440, is because of the chamber. I sunk the valve job to get it. So after doing the chamber stuff, milling it off to get there, I had to sink the valve job in to get the valve job to come in. So the valve sits so much deeper, right? Well, it causes it to shroud this because of the milling. So I could bring this out and it would flow 440, probably 444. But that would reduce compression, kind of defeats the purpose. So point is, these are getting close to being somewhat done to put them on the 540. And while I was dining on Thursday, the reason why I didn't have much time is also I had to take the heads off the 540. So take those 385 heads off to be prepared for this, but also because I want to show you these 385s and what's going to happen with them next. But these are progress. I'll warn you too, if you own a flow bench and you're porting, don't flow the head in at night. Never do that. Because the reason why I was up so late is because the other head, I got it going 420. I was like, it should go 430, totally forgetting about the chamber being milled and how small it was and how it was kind of blocking it. You can kind of tell how much smaller it is. So I was like, oh crap, you know, I could do this on the port and this port. Let me just try it. When you port late at night and then you flow at the middle of the night, you're gonna end up porting yourself down. It will always happen, it seems like. It gets worse, not better. And that's sure enough what happened. So it ended up flowing worse. So I ported myself on the hole. I kept getting, it was great, it was good, just wasn't good enough. Tried something, made it worse. Tried something, and only got it back to where it might have been close before. And then I went to this one. So there's the other head, it's down like 5 CFM from this one. I'm just gonna leave it. I can't do anything that you can do more. It's off a little, it is what it is. Before you're like, well, they should all flow the same. Don't forget on a big block, you have a long runner and a short runner, and they do not flow the same. But anyway, that's coming along. That'll be on the 540, so I could test those intakes like that Hulk one. But let me show you the 385s and tell you what's happening with it. Here's the big block, the 385 AFR ones. They're using the 540 Dyno mule. The plan goes like this for them. If you remember my 477, although it's technically a 483, with the Root Supercharger, it torched the head. It was my AFR 305 heads that I'd ported, and I was super proud of those. Those flowed like 411. If you want to buy them, they will be repaired. I'm probably gonna sell them for like 3,500 bucks without the springs, because I use the springs again. If you want the springs, I'll sell them to you for like 38. It's still way cheaper than the getting new ones by far. But anyway, what I'm gonna do is, with these, I can't leave them alone. It just doesn't seem like it's right, especially since I'm a head porter. It doesn't seem the right thing to do. I'm gonna do a little bit of port work on very little, because these are huge. And you're like, that's too big to put on your 483 Root Supercharger. Here's the thing. If I lose, in an NA engine, if you put a big head like this on it, you're probably gonna lose torque. And you probably might not make as much power. It might be down like 10 or so. But torque is probably where you lose it. With the Root steel, it's a positive displacement. So it's pushing as much air as you can get in. So if it flows more air, it will make more power. And anyway, let's pretend, just because, you know, internet, let's pretend it loses 30 horsepower and 30 foot-pounds of torque. I'm okay with it losing torque. Perfectly okay with it. Because there's other bully supplies. 1230 compared to 1200 horsepower, I'm okay. I really just wanted to, with the bigger port, it will make less boost, so I'll have less pressure and less things to worry about as far as the tune being spot perfect. But what I am going to do, I'm going to hope to God I can save enough money up, because I want to replace these valves with titanium. I'm going to use these valves on the Pro Max heads, but I like to switch these to titanium because there were just signs on the AFR heads, 305 heads that I ported, of maybe something going on, because there were some star shapes on the top of the valve, and I'll try to show a video of that. But the other thing, the big thing, is two things. These chambers are 119 cc's. The ones that were the AFR 305s were 117, so these are 2 cc's bigger anyway. But the other thing is, I'm gonna have the chamber softened, CNC'd, softened. So it's probably gonna lose some more compression. So I'm gonna go from 11.5 probably to 10.5 to 1. So compression will come down. The other thing is the head's gonna be getting a receiver groove put into it, because there's gonna be an O-ring on the block. That, titanium valves, some more port work and stuff. Hopefully it will flow more air and make, if it makes 1150 at 6.8 pounds of boost, I'm okay. Doesn't matter. It was making 1230 before. But I think what'll happen is, in that same pulley setup, I'll probably be making 5 pounds of boost now in the low pulley setup, and probably making about the same power. So probably 1200 to 1190s or 1180, somewhere in that range. Even if it does lower, I don't care. Then we can switch to the other pulleys and be way more than what we had before anyway, and do fine. The biggest thing is it won't try eating itself. And really, I don't even know if it's so much the head thing, more so that it probably should have just been O-ringed. And I swear to God, I think we grabbed E85 when we were on the low boost level, and that did not, and we didn't even think about it. So at 5.8 pounds of boost, 11.5 to 1, with the amount of timing that was in there, probably just caused it just barely lift the head gasket and start the water seeping in. It would have been right here. And then when we got to the methanol, because we went through so much fuel anyway, got to the methanol and then we switched to the heavy boost, it was not having it. It already were enough, and then the whole thing just wasn't doing great. But that's the plan for that, for now, God willing, and money, because I have spent a ton of money. You guys need to buy some of these heads so I can make some money. But anyway, that's what's going on with that. The only real reservation, by the way, I have with these 385s is this. The AFR 305s, I don't take off nearly as much on the roof, and consequently, that means I don't take as much of the thread away. These are exactly how they come. So this is the short runner, rocker stud, and you could tell if the camera will focus right. Not gonna focus, are we? There we go. How many threads are there? That's fine. But if you go to the long runner, it's got 3 or 4. So that spooks me more. Even though I'm running a shaft rocker setup, the Crowers, everything will be fine. And you might be like, why don't you switch brands, go to Brodix? I love Brodix heads, but my shaft rockers only fit AFR heads. The pistons are only for AFR heads. Also, Dunsworth hasn't tore down the short block to see if I'm hoping the pistons are fine. There's nothing wrong with those. I don't think that there is, but don't know. That would change a lot of plans. If I had to get new pistons, I don't know. Maybe I'll do something different with the heads altogether. But right now it is what it is. Still would like to change to a different blower manifold. I just cannot find more money because I keep spending on the different stuff that makes me no money, like videos. But anyway, there's that. That's gonna wrap up the video. I didn't even bother putting the hat back on. I'm tired. It's like 12:40 at night. I still have to put this whole video together and all the other stuff, so edit it and everything. But yeah, that's what's going on. So if there's something I forgot, I'll just put it in next week's video or something. The head porting one will be this week's tech video. Guys, I do appreciate you watching. And I appreciate all people that send in stuff to help with the dyno testing, like the Ford stuff. That guy that sent in that Ford shirt, thank you so much for that. I didn't wear it because it was dirty, because I've been wearing it in other videos. I'm surprised you didn't see it. But the Ford firing order would have been helpful, because Dunsworth has a lot of memories too, but he has to remember like thousands of different firing orders, and evidently there's different ones for a 302 than there is a 351. A Chevy guy had no idea that. I also didn't know that your firing order goes in reverse. That's different. So it's counterclockwise the way the distributor works, because it's on the other side of the cam. Also the way your cylinders are numbered. Like I get one's the furthest one up, but you know 1, 2, 3, 4 all on one side and 5, 6, 7, 8 on the other side. Yeah, I'm glad that the mule ran before the cam challenge, so I didn't look like more of a moron. If you'd like to see that video of me running the 408, there's a live feed. It's like 3 hours long. Anyway, mostly it was started just to see how long it would take us to change the cam. And we got about an idea now. So I'm going to wrap this up. Guys, thanks for watching. Appreciate all of you. I do not port cast iron heads. I am no Superman. I did race Superboy. Oh crap, I forgot to tell you this. Talking about Superboy. Let me tell you this. I'm going to end on a bad note because I'm a little pissed off on this one. You know what? Hell, I'm going to do it. So Bishop's a senior, and you know he swims for Broken Arrow, and he also has club team that he swims for, and that's Swim Tulsa, and they swim out of Tulsa Union. That's their high school. He swims in their pool for club. But Broken Arrow High School is where he swims. Now, Broken Arrow High School is the largest high school in Oklahoma. So it graduates, his senior graduating class is going to have about 1,300 graduates. 1,300, okay? I want you to understand it. Huge high school, right? Biggest in Oklahoma. It pisses me off what happened this week. So Broken Arrow, I've been in Broken Arrow for 20 years now. I taught in Broken Arrow for 16 of those years. The place where they're swimming at, the high school, is this place called the Boys and Girls Club, Salvation Army Boys and Girls Club. And they provide, it's not just a pool, by the way. It's a mild pool, like 3 lanes. It's about what you'd have in a nice gym that costs $100 a month to go to, right? That's about their pool, but that pool is not nice because that pool is bent. That whole building was built like 70s or something, right? It's more of a recreational area because they provide before and after school care for children that went to the school, elementary school I taught at. They have a indoor basketball places for rec basketball league and that sort of stuff. And it's just what it is. This week, this is some bullshit. And it shouldn't bother me because I ain't going to affect me now, but it will others. The Broken Arrow High School swim coach sent out a thing that said, guys, we've been informed that we don't have a pool anymore. The building, Salvation Army Boys and Girls Club, that building is being sold, and it will be sold on May 1st. So they're putting it up for sale. But they have a contract with Broken Arrow so they can keep swimming till July. So essentially what that means is there's no spot for them to swim. We have a high school of 1,300 seniors. That's just seniors. We have no pool. No pool. They just lost the pool. And the pool was probably the worst in this entire Tulsa area. And I'm saying it. So they lost their whole pool. So I don't know what the swim team's going to be. Does it affect me? No. Because Bishop's a senior. This is it. He's gone. Bye. He didn't know, though, and I didn't know when he swam there as senior event stuff, that'd be the last time any Broken Arrow swimmer would swim in that pool for a high school swim team. We didn't know. But evidently that's it. The problem is there's no other pool that's available, so they're scrambling trying to find ones. Their solution so far is to find a gym, like a place where like I would work out, to see if they might be able to put us in a swim pool. In the meantime, they have this. Let me just show you the high school. And yes, I'm getting off on a random rant, but I got to show you this because it pisses me off. This is the Broken Arrow High School campus, and it's really hard to tell when you're looking at this shot, but if you look over to the side, you would see this. That's the high school stadium. It looks beautiful, right? And football stadium, obviously. It looks great. No, this is their indoor stadium. This indoor stadium was built, I don't know, probably 2009. And then about a year ago, they built a second indoor stadium so that they could have the band practice there and football some other time for football. So 2 football practice fields. And this is their pool. This is not at the Broken Arrow High School campus. This is at the Salvation Army Broken Arrow Boys and Girls Club. That little pool, that whole building that's in, could fit inside one of the practice football fields. And they have 2. Oh, don't forget they also have a separate outdoor practice field too. And an outdoor soccer complex. But no pool. So all that I showed you right there, that's their campus, that's their indoor football stadium. I've been here 20 years. When I first got here, before Bishop was even born, before we even thought about having a child, they said they're going to, because the Broken Arrow said they're going to get a pool. They're going to build a pool. For 20 years, I've heard that. Because when I was teaching at the elementary school, we used to have a pool party over at the Salvation Army Boys and Girls Club. Little did I know that's where the high school actually practiced. So that's the reason why we had to be out at certain times. And they had said, I know it's not very nice. This is it. And I had no idea that that's where the high school would practice. For 20 years, they kept saying high school is going to get a pool. In like 2009, they passed a bond, and this is a huge bond. I think it was $295 million. In that bond was a pool. The first things that got built are the things I just showed you. High school stadium got redone. An indoor football field got done. A second one got done 3 years ago. Still no pool. No one's life has ever been saved playing football, soccer, band, none of it. I've never had a kid come to my class and say, there was this ball thrown in the air and I had to catch it while other people were chasing me to survive. Never. Or I had to play my trombone while stepping to a certain song so that the murderer wouldn't kill me. Never have heard that. But I have had a student tell me, my cousin and my brother died because they drowned in Lake Keystone. I've had that. Swimming saves lives. Why in the hell haven't we had this in 20 years? It's utterly ridiculous. Now, I don't know why the Boys and Girls Club is closing down. It may have something to do with the Doge thing, and I'm not saying that it does, but I'm sure they might get some federal funding. But I largely blame Broken Arrow's piss poor planning for 20 years. Anyway, now that will end my video. It just pissed me off. I did race Superboy, but this isn't fair for the other kids that are coming up. Think of all the other kids that are on a swim team. There's a chance they won't even have a program next year because there's nowhere for them to swim. Last year, just so you know, last year there was a mold problem in that swim pool that I was telling you about where they've been practicing. Because of they didn't have the proper ventilation. If you know anything about pools, the humidity and stuff will cause mold to breathe. So I guess they got real bad air quality. Someone came out and they were like, no, this isn't safe at all. So they shut the pool down for like 2 months. In that time, Broken Arrows High School went over to Tulsa Union's high school to swim at their pool and practice together. And you're like, well, why don't they do that again? There's nothing wrong with that, I guess, except for we shouldn't have to. We should have, the money was paid and voted for. We should already have it. Random rant over. You guys, thanks for watching. You know me.